Thank you for joining us today for today's webinar. This webinar is anchored to working paper by CCS, which is Delhi's air pollution, what lies beneath. My name is Ishita Gambhir, and I will be moderating the session today. Just to set the context, we know Delhi's air pollution crisis is often framed as a seasonal emergency, but this webinar is an attempt to step back and examine the deep structural, policy, and institutional factors that drive it year after year. We will look beyond the immediate syrups and try to understand the agricultural practices, the policy incentives, and the governance arrangements that interact with each other to result in what we see on ground and discuss what are the durable pathways to get out of this crisis. Before we begin, a few housekeeping points I want to mention. This session is being recorded. All the participants, except the speakers and the panelists, will remain on mute. We have invited questions from the audience in advance, and we will address them in the final set. All right, so on that, we will begin with our webinar. As I mentioned, today's discussion is anchored in the paper, recent working paper. You can find that on CCS's website. Um, this paper has been co-authored by Gaurav Gupta and Dr. Amit Chandra, and it examines the link between farm level cultivation choices and residue management practices, Delhi's annual air pollution emergency. To set the stage, I am pleased to invite Gaurav Gupta to present the key findings from their research. Gaurav will walk us through the core arguments and the evidence they use and to identify the policy distortions and set the stage for us. Gaurav, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Ishita. Hello, everyone. A very good evening. My name is Gaurav, and I am the Director of Herbal Concepts Healthcare. Firstly, I would like to extend a very sincere thanks to the entire CCS team for inviting me for today's webinar. Additionally, I would also like to place how extremely privileged and honored I am to be speaking among such esteemed panelists and a distinguished guest. A fun fact, when I was initially working on this paper with Dr. Amit Chandra about 5 years back, I was merely an intern at CCS, and it was my first professional experience. I still distinctly remember cold emailing Amit sir and telling him about how passionate I was about this issue of air pollution, given my childhood battle with asthma. And he was kind enough to let me, jump on board and contribute to the research. It was quite a long project, and a lot of initial few months were invested delving deep into the building the hypothesis of the problem and studying the background of the issue. Data extraction was the biggest task for us, given the diagnostic nature of the study, because most of the data that was required for our analysis came from official sources, which were very scattered and hard to come by. During the course of the study, we interacted with a lot of policymakers, agricultural specialists, experts, and even farmers to get their perspective and viewpoint on things that were very hard to make sense of. But overall, the imperative was very clear from the start. We wanted to adopt a first principles approach to dissecting the root cause of stubble burning and associated air pollution crisis in Delhi NCR, disregarding what we already knew and trying to reverse engineer the facts. It took some years to get the research out, but I am grateful now for the opportunity to showcase our findings and hopefully enable a healthy debate and discussion on the topic, trying to bring some very prevalent issues to light. With this, I would like to showcase a small summary comprising of the synopsis of the working paper. I believe we all witnessed a man-made natural calamity just a couple months back. AQI levels in most regions in Delhi and even the surrounding areas had crossed the 600 mark. That is not just hazardous, it is actually bad enough to be declared a national health emergency in most countries. Clean air, as they say, is truly a luxury, and the facts are scary. Delhi is the most polluted city in the world when you talk about air quality. India, at the time of the study, had the most pollution linked deaths out of all the countries, amounting to more than 2 million mortalities. On an average, a Delhi resident breathes air that is 20 times over WHO's safety limit. Well, the facts point out the magnitude and gravity of the problem is quite evident, but given its invisible nature, accountability is hard to find. We are left playing a game of who to blame. At the time of the study, we attempted to understand the influence of stubble burning on air pollution and, most importantly, dissect the root cause of stubble burning by breaking it down to the science of farmer level decision making. So, as per the Central Pollution Control Board estimates, along with Ministry of Earth Sciences Air Quality Monitor suffer during 2019 and 2020, the average contribution of stubble burning emanating from farm fires in northwestern states of Punjab and Haryana was 45% to Delhi's PM 2.5 concentration levels during the months of October to December. So, what happens in these months? These months actually overlap with the Kharif harvest season. A large number of farmers in these two states set their fields on fire to, after harvesting of paddy, to eliminate the residue and make way for the next crop, that is wheat. Now, I would like to emphasize here the cultivation pattern in Punjab and Haryana is extremely skewed towards the paddy wheat cropping system. These states of Punjab and Haryana are popularly known as the granaries of India, contributing 35% of paddy and 25% of wheat to the central pool. Roughly 85% of the gross cropped area is devoted to paddy wheat cropping system in these two states. A massive shift towards production of paddy was made in the last 3 to 4 decades, starting with the Green Revolution. The climatic condition in the northwestern region, which are rainfall deficient, do not typically support a water guzzler like rice, and neither is rice a staple crop in these states. So, our research question condenses to the following: why do these northwestern states mass produce rice when neither the environment nor the consumption pattern supports its cultivation? So, we narrow our hypothesis that there exists some deep rooted and pervasive institutional mechanisms and technical support factors that have systematically facilitated the production of rice in these states. All the factors of production, namely agricultural inputs such as seeds and fertilizers, access to electricity for irrigation, and market prices, were analyzed for a time period of 20 years to study the trends and see their impact on cultivation decisions. Specifically, we delve deep into power consumption and subsidies, fertilizer consumption and yield impact, trends in MSP and procurement. For this, we refer to official compilations of statistical abstracts of Punjab and Haryana published by Department of Economics and Statistical Affairs. So when we talk about the first input of agriculture, that is electricity. What is the main purpose of electricity? That is to solve for irrigation. It is quite important to note here that Punjab and Haryana rely almost entirely on canal and tube well irrigation for paddy. Gross irrigated area as a proportion of net sown area has been upwards of 95% in both the states since 2005. This translates that the reliance on rainfall is virtually non-existent for paddy cultivation. 75% of the irrigation requirements for paddy are met by tube wells, which are powered by electricity. And a record 90% of the tube wells in both these states are powered by electricity. Additionally, it is also remarkable that Punjab and Haryana have achieved 100% rural electrification, and these states regularly feature among the top two states where the per unit power cost is the lowest in the country. Actually, to sort of highlight here, for many years in our study, there were virtually no charges that were levied by the government for agricultural electricity consumption, it being entirely subsidized. Even when charges were implied, they were a tiny fraction of the retail expenses, retail charges to consumers, not even enough to cover the basic maintenance and operational cost. Abundant and almost free electricity provided to farmers universally in Punjab and Haryana enabled usage of tube wells for irrigation and cultivation of paddy. Here, I would like to state that paddy is a very water intensive crop, requiring an average of 3,000 liters of water for production of just 1 kg of the food grains. Production of rice in Punjab has shot up from 91 lakh tons in 2000 to 1.28 crore tons in 2019, while in Haryana it has increased from 27 lakh tons to 45 lakh tons. The associated increase in yield per hectare was 18% and 22% respectively. This impressive growth in production has come with the widespread availability of HYV seeds and NPK fertilizers. Area under HYV seeds is 100% of the net sown area in Punjab and 95% of the net sown area in Haryana. Moreover, though we cannot get the official statistics on that from the Fertilizer Association of India, fertilizer consumption per hectare in Punjab and Haryana is the highest in India for several years in the time period that we studied. Coming to the most significant factor of production now, marketing support for farmers. MSP for rice has considerably increased from rupees 540 in 2000 to rupees 1770 in 2019, registering a CAGR of almost 8%. Moreover, what's the most surprising fact is almost 95% of the total production of paddy is actually procured by FCI and the state agencies at this MSP. This is the highest for all the crops that have an MSP. To give you a comparison, procurement at MSP for pulses is only 5 to 8%. Surprisingly, we also noticed sudden irregular and substantial hikes in MSP during election years, suggesting political considerations rather than economic reasons. The data about production statistics and agricultural subsidies is interlinked, and the linkage is quite glaring. In the past few decades, there has been a major shift towards the paddy wheat cropping system in the northwestern states of Punjab and Haryana. The geo-ecological conditions in these states do not typically support a water-intensive crop like paddy, but the legacy of agricultural subsidies have artificially manipulated the market mechanisms and distorted the natural order. Finally, coming to our recommendations, we believe all short-term measures like machine and alternate uses of stubble like for ethanol, for cattle feed, do not really address the root cause of the issue. They are what we like to call band-aid solutions that temporarily put off the larger crisis in terms of air pollution, in terms of depletion of groundwater. In the medium and long term, we envisage an agricultural ecosystem where there is no place for appeasement politics and institutional manipulation of any kind, where the market forces of demand and supply are left to their natural tendencies. This could potentially require a complete overhaul of the current subsidies and support systems for agriculture in a way that promotes sustainable farming, organic farming, sustainable living, and maintaining economic integrity. Thank you so much for letting me set the context here. Ishita, over to you.
Thank you, Gaurav, for highlighting the policy factors that drive the practice of stubble burning in Punjab and Haryana and how the role that it plays in causing the pollution in Delhi. The fact that you highlighted that it's a pervasive problem, but given the invisible nature of it, it hasn't been addressed with the same level of public urgency that it deserves is crucial. Um, Now we will move on to our next segment of today's, which is a fireside chat on leadership, accountability, and institutional reform that are required in addressing Delhi's air pollution crisis. I'm delighted to introduce our two speakers for this conversation. We have with us Kiran Bedi. She is a former IPS officer and a former lieutenant governor of Puducherry. Bedi is also the founder of Navjyoti India Foundation, which works on education and community development. Also, she is founder of India Vision Foundation, which is focused on prison reform and rehabilitation, with decades spent in public service and reform. She has been recently vocal about the need for institutional clarity, authority, and accountability in addressing Delhi's air pollution crisis. Welcome, ma'am, to our webinar. Joining her in conversation, we have Dr. Amit Chandra, the CEO at Center for Civil Society. Dr. Chandra is a social development professional and a policy researcher with extensive experience in governance, reform, regulatory design, and public policy advocacy. He has worked across education, livelihood, and institutional reform. He is also the co-author of the background paper of today's discussion. Amit, I now invite you to take this discussion forward with Miss Bedi. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ishita. And I believe we have 20 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. Uh, Once again, thank you very much, Gaurav, for presenting the key findings of the paper. And once again, I'm honored to have this privilege to engage in this conversation with Kiran Bedi ji. Ma'am, if I take one key insight from this paper is the rice, which is being grown in Haryana and Punjab. And if we see that traditionally these states have not been rice growing states, they have produced wheat, bajra, makka, and other things. But over a period of time, something which was not really possible organically has become possible. How come it became possible is one, rice requires much water for irrigation. And as there was rural electrification and further free electricity or subsidized electricity was given, there was enough penetration of tube wells. So farmers started taking out water, underground water through tube well, and there is data available that there is less irrigation happening through canal and more from through tube wells. Now, the growing of rice was possible, but once again, only growing does not create the complete infrastructure for people to start getting into sustained practice of growing rice. Because the second side of the same coin is demand. They could produce it, but if there are no consumer, people don't really eat rice in Haryana and Punjab, what would they do? And here comes MSP. And therefore, over a period of time, something which was not happening as a regular practice, there was right condition to do it. Over a period of time, not majority, I would say, but farmers have shifted the crop pattern, and there is an, in some sense, a guaranteed source of income. जो पहले आप नहीं कर सकते थे, आप राइस ग्रो भी कर सकते हैं, and there is a demand that at a guaranteed price, people, the state will buy it. So there is a now, in some sense, an artificial market. I shouldn't say artificial market, but something which is not organically possible was possible. The other key insight is uski वजह से, because there was water crisis, the state of Punjab and Haryana both passed a law which actually has shifted the timeline of the crop. So if I take it, there is a law which says, which prohibits actually, and I can read it from the paper. It says it prohibited establishment of paddy nurseries before 10th of May and transplanting of paddy seedings before 10th of June. And therefore, they had to shift the pattern, and by October, November, only the rice is ready. And once they have to clear the field for next crop, the fastest and easiest way to clear they can find is actually to burn it. So the key insight here is, for me as a policy practitioner, is the short-term benefits of policymakers. They couldn't see the long-term consequences. And I would like to take your comment on this. Can we take one key learning that at times policymakers are missing on the point that policies should be designed thinking long-term consequences as well?
Um, Is that Amit? What is that?
Yes, Amit.
And Amit and Gaurav, may I request you, may I suggest that Gaurav, can this paper be forwarded to the Honorable Supreme Court, which is hearing the matter?
Definitely, yes.
Because that's where the experts have been called. Fortunately, Supreme Court has directed that it should be a coalition of all experts, which was not being done earlier. The AQM had not got all the right kind of experts, and that's why during the health emergency time when we had, expert after expert was coming together, writing and speaking, people like you, but they were being read, but they did not know what to do because government, this was not the government, it's a citizens people. So it influences, it informs, but doesn't get executed unless there's a policy change. Now, I believe, Amit, India is also now the largest rice producer of the world.
Yes.
Why? And it's also supplied. Why? Because the other countries don't want to consume their water. Simple as that.
Yeah.
They are saving water and they are buying our water. And they're buying the water of our future generations. And it's also getting pesticide affected because of the heavy pesticides being used. So it's a very serious digit. And why is it now? It's short-term political gain. It's a short-term political survival, nothing else. Nothing else, because if you've seen the recent past, how everything was made free to buy votes. And they did come to power. So unfortunately, power and these kind of temptations and these kind of largesse brings them votes. So the fault lies both ways, people and the short-term leaders. So it's a survival issue. They're considered, certain interest people are interested in their current survival, not future survival, and thinking that the current survival may lead to future survival. So, and who all in future are being affected, I think gets subsumed with the present, because power, political power, there's a route to political power. That's why I'm saying, Gaurav, may I request you to forward this to the Honorable Supreme Court and as a paper for consideration. How do you reach it? How do you pass it on? I'm sure you'll have your own ways of doing it.
Of course, ma'am.
And there is no substitute, no answer there's no answer. The only answer is the voter. But why would the voter vote against what he's earning financially? So it's a finance, it's a money, it's power on one hand, money on the other.
So thank you, ma'am. And so my second related question will be that then it becomes more of a problem of political economy, where, and we can clearly understand that people in politics and policy making, they also have to practically look at winning the next election and therefore short-term benefit. But the consequence is, the result is we are losing on long term, and specifically for our kids, our next generation. The kind of air they should be breathing in is, that's not where we are, right? In this case, because you have also seen the political economy quite closely, what solution would you suggest, or some framework of thinking as to what can be done? As you have said, it's a both side problem. People also have to be, as a citizen, have to be more active, aware, vigilant, and not to kind of sell their choice with only short-term benefits. But at the same time, the supply side of policy also has to be more responsible. And that's a big puzzle. But how do we solve this puzzle?
There is no solution as long as both them are on the winning side. There is no solution. People who vote them in are the gainers, and people who get voted in are gainers. So where's the solution? There's a handshake. And the court direction will not work because it will lead to mass agitations. And we've seen what happens with such agitations. So there is no solution. People of the area must prepare to suffer. Prepare to suffer, because the water will be arsenic over a period. So I think I have no solution. Because the bureaucracy can be overruled. Bureaucracy writing all these remains on files doesn't get approved. So we must know we are heading for catastrophe, not now, 10 years down the line, when there will be a short supply and with rains getting scantier. Or we've also had floods. Last year, Punjab had floods. The water table hopefully may have improved, I do not know. But I don't think in the current scenario of political economy, this will change. It will not. There's no hope. It's a
And
hopeless situation.
And this is what we have also observed, because this is not 2025-6 is not unique. This is happening for last 10 years. Year after year, it is happening in front of our eyes. And every time the intensity is higher. However, the needle is not shifting, not moving, which is the most frustrating situation to be.
Only option is, Anil, I think, if you said, sorry for this interruption, which struck my mind, is water harvesting in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
If every farmer also does water harvesting to improve the water table, then it can be some saving. So water harvesting, how it can be mandated that if you're consuming so much, whenever it rains, save water and let it go down. So water harvesting is harvest while you harvest out water, harvest in water.
Right. But when we in policy framework start thinking about, we also see in terms of carrot and stick. Where do you want to use your stick and threaten, deter, as one of the legislation here, which I was referring to, also have penal provision. It says penalty of 10,000 rupees for uh, every month or part thereof per hectare. But also, can we think about some framework where we are incentivizing them not to do so? Or how do we incentivize water harvesting if that's the solution? How
I
do
guess
we encourage them?
that could be a whole voluntary movement, because youth need to understand that you will not have water. So maybe it could be a whole mobilization for youth movement, community movement, youth movement. Otherwise, so they need to know, if you don't want to get away from the money you're earning, and the political masters do not want to take you away because you will not listen to them. They will not listen to them, by the way.
Hmm.
So they will not say something when they have opposition. So I think the people as a large, movements can be started that 10 years from now you will not have water. Do water harvesting, plantation and water harvesting. Green up so that you catch the rain, make Punjab greener, and going for water harvesting, rooftop harvesting, urbanized harvesting, agriculture harvesting. That can be mandated by law.
Hmm.
That can be mandated by law, and that doesn't hurt anybody.
Sure. But I think this is very important point. Law is needed, but law will also have limited impact. But it requires possibly a citizen-led, youth-led movement. And this reminds me, a few people have actually started doing, creating a movement on water conservation. One which comes on top of my head is Sadhguru had started this Save the Soil campaign, which was also around the same thing, that how do we get more greenery and more trees which will protect the soil and the nutrition of the soil, and water harvesting, and it becomes the rain catcher. It brings rain. Um, Now, do we see this kind of movement taking shape sometime soon? Do we have, what hopes do we have?
There has to be leadership from within.
Mm-hmm.
leadership of within both seniors and juniors,
Mm-hmm.
and people with credible faces who are
Mm-hmm.
willing to dedicate their life for a cause, who are accepted.
So another on the same discussion, but another set of problem comes here is while Delhi, for its geographical location, is punished uh, by the situation, uh, those who are actually polluting the air or are the cause for depletion of water, they don't feel the consequences immediately. They are not burning their hand. So if people in Delhi, there is an uprise, there is youth-led movement, let's say here in Delhi, once again, it would require action to be translated on ground, let's say in Haryana and Punjab or other places, or maybe even Western UP or other places. How do we bring that synergy and harmony that while people are demanding here, the people in other states are also listening. Also, similarly, when the state, let's say state is also interested and state is able to work with other states to get the job done.
It requires a very now you're talking about I was earlier talking about local leadership to emerge. Now you're talking about regional and national leadership to emerge. And Delhi is affected not only by stubble burning, but Delhi is also a victim of its own deficient governance for many other reasons, because Delhi is very heavily populated on vehicles. That needs policy addressing, a very greater shift of the kind of oil we use, and that requires now policy changes. Now, this is not so political as much as financial costs and technology costs and industrial houses and the manufacturers, and that will take its own long term. So uh, would not may not suffer from finances because it will be government, central government could step in, and Delhi could set the trend. So I think agriculture for heavily rice in Haryana and Punjab has its a limited impact, but Delhi is bearing its own consequences of its own disjointed functioning when it comes to pollution management. Very disjointed. One department, there are many cooks cooking. So I think that would be where Delhi. That's why when I suggested, I've been suggesting to the government of the day and that is what we can demand even to the Supreme Court. At the moment, we are before the Supreme Court is asking for a joint citizen government control room where citizens' voices are heard on the control room, and the government also is present there. And then it farms out all the grievances and all the complaints which are coming through people to the departments concerned. And then the departments concerned respond to them, these messages collectively, because Delhi government also means government of India, being a union territory. So I think the mother of all solutions at the moment is transparency through the control room, where people like you, experts, can offer your suggestions and that could go to the right department concerned. But that department doesn't work in a silo, it works as a holistic whole, a comprehensive together holistically. And that will work through citizens' control room, where experts are also sitting and government is also sitting and they're listening to what's coming, and that they are then farming it out to policymakers and to the implementers and the executors, whether it's finance, or whether it's field work so it could be municipality, it could be transport department, it could be agriculture. So all these are policy, big policy, but they are part of the control room. Listen, is control room reaches out to them, saying this is coming again and again. but also asking for accountability कि क्या हुआ इतने दिन हमने इतनी बार ये शिकायत बार बार आ रही है. Then the technology upgrade, the pollution upgrade, checking of pollution, the pollution controls, upgrading where they are mobile POCs and they're checking as the vehicle moves and they detect it, and also through drones, through control rooms, greater use of technology so you identify polluting vehicles. But there has to be technology change in oil, manufacturing, and EV, and the mass transport. I think we have to begin not with one vehicle shifting, but mass transportation has to become electric as soon as possible, which means money, which means manufacturing, which means transition, which means all this. So Delhi is in a different way, and Delhi could set the trend for others. But joint control room is important where all these issues are getting addressed. And the government of India is a part of that joint control room because the government employee should also be there from the ministry, not just the AQM, but the ministry. Ministry.
Thank you, ma'am. And I think these are some of the very solid ideas. One is we certainly require a very efficient public transport system. And I also remember those days of blue line buses. And as we shifted to CNG-led buses and later on to metro. And if with the current push, quickly, as soon as it is possible, we can shift towards the electric vehicles and also using technology for monitoring, drones, data capturing. And if there is something like citizen government led control room, it won't be only a good solution for the pollution related problem, but many other problems as well. However, you said one key thing is, and this is going to be my last question because I'm getting reminder as a time up, is on the data transparency, and not just data transparency, but overall transparency in governance. And recently there were some reports on just pollution level data that AQI data was also being manipulated. So the soul of the success of such model will depend upon the honesty, transparency, and accountability, which are larger issues of governance. How do we bring that in? If there is no transparency, there is no accountability. This model is a very powerful idea, but yet may not work out.
So here's an objective answer. Get it objectively checked. So let's have it is evidence based rebuttal or establishment. So evidence based. So let the objective team examine that meter by meter, installation by installation. How is it performing? Is it data? Is it data manipulative, or is it reflecting data as it is? So I think that can again be done once it's coming to a control room. This complaint. So what does the group decide? The group decides, let's get it objectively, technologically checked, established or demolished. So let's not carry on. Either we find a solution if it's true, or we inform the people that it's not true. Don't spread unnecessary mistrust in the government. So I think it needs to be verified.
Thank you very much. And before I hand over to Ishita, certainly, as you said, one of the solution will be part of solution is active youth-led movement. We all understand the importance of active, engaged, responsible citizens. And if you have to, ma'am, give your one quick message through this platform, you have to address the youth of Delhi to be active and take the responsibility of solving this problem. Your message.
I don't want them to go to India Gate. I don't want to also make them waste their time in Jantar Mantar.
Sure.
That will not work. That is not going to work because they'll get frustrated because state power is too strong. So therefore, I think Supreme Court is currently the answer. If we can reach the best information, maximum youth messages to, that is the only correct answer because that's over and above all of us. So don't get into agitations and get arrested. and don't take on hostility. My one message is follow the legal route. Apply to the right to the Supreme Court. Maybe each one can write, collectively write to the Supreme Court, because Supreme Court has done one right, very salutary thing is brought to the experts coalition, which was not happening earlier. So coalition of experts means all our voices that get heard, and the best solution will emerge.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you very much. Back to you, Ishita, for the next part of the discussion.
Thank you, Amit, and thank you, Kiranji, for your candid thoughts on this issue and for recognizing that there's a need for a holistic approach to address this challenge, which involves both the political leadership, citizenry, and also a technological change. And all this would not be possible without transparency and accountability in police. So, thank you for highlighting that. Now we'll move on to our panel discussion, where we would translate these governance themes into on-ground realities and policy choices. Joining us for this segment, we have Mr. Lalit Patil Bahale. He's the president of Shetkari Sanghatana, a farmers organization that advocates for farmers' uh, to access technology and markets without government intervention. For almost 40 years, Mr. Bahale has been a full-time grassroots organizer advocating for farmer autonomy, market freedom, and minimal state intervention in agriculture. Welcome, Mr. Bahale. If Lalitji brings us the view from the field, our next panelist brings the view from within the regulatory system. We have with us Ms. Priyanka Singh. She is the program lead at Center for Energy, Environment and Water. Here, she works on air pollution, waste management, and circular economy. She has a strong focus on evidence-based policy making. Prior to CEEW, she worked as a technical consultant at the Central Pollution Control Board under the National Clean Air Program. I would like to welcome both of our panelists. We are going to go about this in a couple rounds. So my first round of questions focus on the ground realities and the constraints that drive this issue. To Mr. Bahale, I would like to ask, from the farmer's perspective, stubble burning, why does stubble burning appear to be the best option available? And in reality, what constraints do the farmers face, be it economic or time or risk related, that shape this decision?
I would like to, if stubble burning in Punjab and Haryana is the major and if not sole cause of the problem of air pollution, and that is beyond tolerance now in case of Delhi, then it is most impossible to solve it by technological assistance or budgetary allocations or by some enactments against it. It is not possible. Actually, policy-induced wrongs can only be corrected by changing policy architecture. And that too at the philosophical level. Now, we are facing a stagnation in Punjab and Haryana since long. I mean, since what they call it green revolution. But it was actually grain revolution. It wasn't green revolution. Because of this stubble burning, because it is the cheapest option. Otherwise, technologies are there, sheet composting and all that, but they won't work. Actually, whole of the Punjab and Haryana should go now into a creative destruction. Whole of the Punjab and Haryana thing should change. Actually, it was not. It was not this thing that only Punjab and Haryana should provide grains and all that. And the problem of Delhi pollution is not only it is a byproduct of a very large type of calamity we will be suffering at the health level, that this very easy supply of carbohydrate in form of wheat and rice, we are a diabetic hub. So if you have any solution for the problem of air pollution in Delhi, it will also solve the problem of diabetes in whole of India. Now, I would not like to go what happens and what not happens. It is the genetic engineering which can help you in this problem. And all the producers which can be taken, which can be harvested in Punjab and Haryana, and this whole rice and wheat people should diversify to those other things which can be produced in agriculture. But they should not be produced as they are produced now. They should be fortified with the help of genetic engineering to get a production of nutraceutical. So, if a lucrative option, then the MSP and no market searching and all that, some lucrative option should be there in the market. And that can be achieved only by genetic engineering and AI, artificial intelligence. These two technologies can help us to reduce, because now it is enough is enough. Now India should not be provided with very easy carbohydrates. So this is the problem, and I also agree with Kiranji that she wants citizens' participation in politics or decision making. But instead of that, I would like to suggest one thing, that we need an electoral reform, and an electoral reform which can fit us into the definition of real democracy. We are not the houses which are representing most of the people. Hardly 36% people or 25% people represent the 25% population is represented. At this point of time, it is high time actually, we need to harvest demographic dividend. And if we go towards that, we can automatically solve the problem of Delhi pollution and diabetes in India. So actually, if the things gone wrong because of policies can only be corrected by changing the policies. Technology will not help. Budgetary allocations will not help. Judiciary also will not help. It won't help you. You need what Schumpeter said in his book, you need a creative destruction. And technology can do that after policy is changed. And for that, we can have electoral reforms like 100% of the people or 100% of the citizen or voters are represented in the houses. But the houses should be different. The houses for one man, one vote. The house should be treating only four things. That is policing, that is crime detection. Then I think Kiranji can understand it better. Crime detection and home guards. That means your law and order situation. Crime detection, law and order, judiciary and defense. These are the only four things to be handled by this parliament, which is elected by one man, one vote. And other things like pollution, industry, and education, and medicine, and these health, and all that, they, like Kiranji said, experts are sitting and all that. So these experts should be given different houses for different this thing. Actually, the solution is very simple, but it is not politically admired. That means political people will not do that. Politically, it is impossible. What I am saying is politically impossible. But what I am saying is, when it will become inevitable, like in 91, it became inevitable to open up. But agricultural sector was not opened. And that's why we are facing this problem. If it becomes inevitable to open, it had become inevitable in Corona, and that's why those three laws were there. That means government came with those three laws of agriculture. But the other lucrative alternative was not given then. If we can, the only thing I would like to finish in one sentence rather, if agriculture is given freedom to use technology and have an open market, free market, then and only then these problems, we can resolve this problem. The solution is very simple. Otherwise, no course, no technologies, no nothing is going to help you out. Only now the Punjab and Haryana people are producing food. But I don't want agriculture to produce produce food hereafter. I want agriculture to produce nutraceuticals. And if genetic engineering is given a free hand, as it is not given now, we can change everything, every agricultural commodity into a nutraceutical. So if the nutraceutical market is far more lucrative and profit giving, these people, these all farmers in Punjab and Haryana should be given taste of profit. And they are not given the taste of profit. And that's why all leftist people came in and that. One thing these leftists should ask then, if this problem is to be solved by left way, then it is very simple. Let the government employ all the farmers as they are employing in, because now we are not the owners of the field. We are the users of the field. Because the first amendment, we were holding land. We were having that means property rights on our land. But now we don't have our property rights on land. So the credit policy is like that. You will have to change the credit policy. But if you want to solve this problem by way of left, that means socialism or this communism or like that, then you will have to employ all the farmers as the employees of government, and then you can have, because they will be getting payment per salary, and then you don't have to have maximization of MSP and all that. Actually, this term maximization of MSP is a little bit like natural farming, because minimum cannot be maximized. It always be minimum. It will always be minimum. And that is why it is a problem. So both ways are there. Either you give a free hand or freedom of technology and market, or you employ all the farmers as the employees and don't produce rice and wheat. Then government will be on its own not to produce. In any case, we are not the owners of the land. We are the users of the land on our Satbara and all that, the documents. So there are many problems, but very frankly speaking, two ways are there. Either make them employees of the government, 58% of the people in India, or give them free hand to technology and freedom for technology and open market. These are the very simple solutions. I know what I am saying is politically impossible, but it is economically inevitable.
Thank you, Lalitji, for not only sharing the farmer's perspective with us, but also giving just really broad and innovative suggestions, from electoral reforms to land reforms to genetic engineering. You sounded more like an economist and less like a microbiologist, which you are by training, I think. So, but thank you for giving like a holistic sort of approach to addressing this issue. Quickly moving on to our next panelist, we have Priyanka Singh. Priyanka, I would like to ask you, from the institutional side, pollution control boards are expected to regulate increasingly complex sources of pollution. From there's stubble burning, but there's also vehicular pollution. Based on your work, what do you think are the binding constraints that limit the effectiveness of these enforcement and regulatory authorities in addressing the seasonal air pollution problem?
Right. Thank you, Ishita, and thank.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're audible now. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Lalitji, and thank you, Kiran, madam, for setting the context. So, and thank you, Amit and Gaurav, for the presentation and sharing the insights from the paper. I think I would like, if it's all right, I will like 2-3 minutes to just continue what Mr. Lalit was saying, because our research, so I'm coming from a research-based organization, and as ma'am said, we are actually part of those experts that ma'am was talking about. So the thing is, I just want to, since we are talking about policies, right? Talking about policies, I just want to quote that there are 7, criteria for a successful policy. And I'm just quoting it from a book from a very experienced, bureaucrat who's apparently an author. He says that a successful policy needs to be politically acceptable, that we all are talking about. It needs to be socially desirable. It needs to be technologically feasible, as Mr. Patil said, and it needs to be financially viable. Then it needs to be administratively doable, judicially tenable, and emotionally relatable. Now, we should look at anything that we are, recommending. These 7 parameters, how we are faring on these 7 parameters. Like say, for example, it's not that after the Green Revolution happened and this crop residue burning, it has been happening. And one more thing, uh, it just doesn't happen in Punjab and Haryana. So if you look at the stats, now MP is almost at par with Punjab and Haryana, but it is not really, becoming a case until unless you will see one big city like Mumbai. Mumbai, you would not, hear stories of pollution if you look at 5 years back from now. But now you are having, because see, it takes some time. You need a highlight, and media is doing that. Now, every time the winter comes, we have this crop residue burning season, and then all the focus goes on crop residue burning. So, Delhi pollution problem and crop residue burning problem, they're, I mean, while related, but there are two different problems, so, and need to be solved differently. Now, what we did in Punjab, we did a very, comprehensive survey in 11 districts to understand why there have been, it's not that there have not been policies for, addressing crop residue burning. There have been policies, like there have been crop residue management machines which have been introduced. There are other crop diversification, but why that is not happening? There are multiple reasons to it. And we need an understanding from the ground on why these things are not really working. So just sharing some of the insights from our publications, like there are economic factors that we know that burning is the cheapest option. Now agricultural practices, like there is a very little window for sowing season, so this seems to be the fastest practice. Now, third thing and fourth, which is very important, and since we are in a growing economy, these are the things that we should keep in mind. One is that the crop residue that a farmer generates. Just imagine a farmer that has a big patch of land, and they are generating a lot of crop residue. Do we have market for, where will you take it, right? The logistics for taking that to the right market is not there. That's a challenge. Now if you are putting out equipments, do farmers know about those equipments? How is it that you make them aware and make that beneficial for them? So those are the things that we need to, it's the policy disruption is all right, but just imagine a farmer that has been introduced multiple things at a time. So these are the things that we need to consider. Now coming to the question that Ishita asked me on the SPCBs. Now we have been hearing the cases of these data being manipulated. But just imagine a bureaucrat or any official that has been tasked with dealing with Delhi's air pollution. So, quoting verbatim from, I mean, I would not name, but just imagine that official who's sitting, right? And he's responsible for Supreme Court, he's responsible for High Court, and everyone. Pollution control boards are not executionary bodies, they are regulatory bodies, right? Why are we expecting a pollution control board to control your transport or to control the solid? That is somebody else's job. We should be asking the municipal corporation. We should be asking the transport department. These are the people who are responsible. So asking the right authority, as ma'am said, is very important. And a citizen needs to, and also responsibility and accountability. These two things need to come hand in hand. You cannot, make one person responsible and not accountable, and vice versa. That you are making somebody accountable, but you're not giving them responsibility. These two things should come together, right? So proper authority comes with responsibility as well as accountability. Now on the pollution control boards, I think if I talk about Delhi Pollution Control Committee, so we have been working with them for quite some time. I think they have been making efforts. Like say, for example, there was this early warning system and decision support system that they have deployed, which works for during winter. And from our analysis, 85% times it was, giving you the right data. The only catch was the data which is input. So a model, I mean, if I talk about a prediction model, it's as good as its input. So if whatever you are feeding in, you are getting the equivalent output. So the data that we also figured that there were some problems with the EWS, which is being used by Delhi Pollution Control Committee for prediction of pollution in time. One is that it is only operating during winter time. So ideally, it should operate throughout the year, so that we have better prediction. And except for crop residue burning that happens in just a month's time, there are other sources. As ma'am mentioned, transport is actually the largest source of pollution in Delhi. So if you want to solve for pollution, maybe you need all round efforts. So pollution is not really a winter problem, and that is something that we should imbibe in ourselves. For those living in Delhi, I am a Delhiite, right? So for anyone living in Delhi, the winter should not give you scare. The whole year should give you scare, because the Delhi is almost polluted throughout the year. You just get scared when it comes in the red category. Even when it is in the yellow and orange category, that should also give you scare, because that is also, it's not good for health. So now coming to the policies, the socially desirable and the economics. So just take transport, for example. Now, when we talk about the policies which can actually improve, so we did these calculations that some stringent policies, like keeping out all BS4 vehicles, phasing out all BS4 vehicles, which were introduced some time back, right? It can actually substantially reduce pollution. But is it? I mean, does the political economy support that? No, because people who have bought cars in 2020, their cars are just 5-year old. How do you expect them to not just give away those cars? Now coming to the manufacturer side, if you are asking them to buy EVs, where will all that manufacturing, can that manufacturing happen in the desired time? The manufacturer will also need some time. Look at the procurement that government is doing. Is it, I mean, if you place a tender today, can you get the buses within a month? It's not possible. Manufacturing also takes its time. So we have to be, practical in terms of what can happen. So the pollution has not come to this level, suddenly. It has taken its own time. And to go away, it should also happen in ways that we need to prioritize better. And all of this policy needs support from everyone, including majority of it is actually coming down to a citizen. If I'm being asked, and there are grab 1 2 3 4, if I'm not following, then grab is as bad as the pollution which is there. So any policy needs to be supported from all levels. That is, I would say. But let's not put everything on crop residue burning. In case of Delhi, there are multiple other things that Delhi needs to do. And yeah, so I'll stop there.
Thank you, Priyanka, for sharing your unique. Um, let's move on to the question and answer segment of this webinar. We had invited participants to submit questions in advance, and I'll be putting forth some of these questions to you. And I'll open it up to anyone who would like to respond. And being the moderator, I think I'll go with my question first. And this is addressed to Kiranji. Ma'am, you emphasized the importance of taking this issue to the courts, the Supreme Courts, and because that seems to be our only option available at this time. But we know that courts intervene repeatedly, and yet nothing changes on ground. What do we do in that case?
You have this is the only hope right now. Believe it. If we do not put the right things in the right perspective in the before, because Supreme Court judgment is binding, and if the government is cognizant of something which concerns, it is the court findings, is the Supreme Court finding. So therefore, at the moment, we should all consolidate and become a one voice, and inform, place before the Supreme Court evidence which works. There's no other option. You see, political agendas are not going to change without this, and then government will also get something to peg on to say the Supreme Court has said this. It'll help them. Industrial change will not happen till these directions and time-bound directions. Supposing Supreme Court says in the next 3 years, public transport of Delhi shall become electronic. It will transform. It will transform. That much a chunk will go. But Supreme Court will not direct this, that rice and this. I agree with our friend here that yes, a lot of carbs is coming actually from wheat, but and that is causing its challenge, health challenges. But who informs people? How will eating habits change? So we are. This is where Supreme Court will not enter, but substituting which water harvesting to alarm them that another 5 years, 6 years, you will not have water. Some youth movements could begin. So I would think that court. I still put my last hope on the Supreme Court at the moment because it's re-engaged. Then the Aravali range. So Aravali range and the water, the all holistically. That's why I'm saying that unless we have the court direction, others will be all piecemeal. At the moment, the court is looking at everything holistically, it's looking at governance as a whole, all allied departments as a whole. So उसमें सभी को डायरेक्शन मिलेंगी, टाइम बाउंड भी होगा, कुछ सिस्टम्स में भी, पॉलिसीज में भी डायरेक्शंस मिलेगी. आई थिंक मेरे पास तो और कोई चॉइस नहीं है. आई एम पिनिंग माय होप एट द मोमेंट ऑन सुप्रीम कोर्ट डिबेट्स and finally what comes out, and it will take months together. But if we can inform Supreme Court and create that kind of pressure which had been built, and it is the pressure, the Aravali pressure, and the all of us pitched in for against pollution, that worked. Now we must keep up the momentum, even if the air is little breathable, or we are still, now we're moving out, we're not crying horse. But I think we need to bring in all the documentation with evidence to the court at the moment. Don't lose this opportunity.
I think Gaurav mentioned, we know this problem is pervasive, not just air pollution, but also water pollution. But because it's invisible in nature, or because the citizenry is myopic, they don't, groundwater getting depleted is in the future. Right now, everyone, as you said, is invested in their current survival and not the future survival. Where will this pressure come from if people are not understanding the severity of the issue, the problem?
Media could play a very important role. Media, in fact, can be engaged in this to carry such stories. If media can do a little bit of CSR in this, put aside a few minutes every day on environment issues, media can play actually really educative. Like, look, if I'm speaking, I'm reaching out to 53 people. There are 53 participants in this. But when media speaks, it will reach 5 lakhs. So media can play a role if we can influence media, any channel, and puts aside 1 minute out of the channel time for environment. Positive, negative. This is what worked and this is what not working. Look what indoor poisoning of the water has impacted. And today I was reading the Delhi water minister who is dealing with these etc. has now directed these people to go and check the pipelines and send them for chemical tests, etc. So it's moved them, but it is because of the hype or proper information which came through, and the courts. It was the courts. Now it's the courts. Again, it was a high court. So I think if you see, most of things are moving only by the courts, whether it's a high court or whether it's a Supreme Court. So at the moment, I think we should put our energy. How do we all petition the Supreme Court, say, "Hamari baat bhi suno." Lekin wo sun rahe hain, kyunki unhone. Now let's identify who are the experts with the Supreme Court and give them the information. In fact, we should know who are the experts which are being formed, brought together, and give them information so that they produce the evidence before the court. And once the Supreme Court direction will come, the policy, it will help. Whether it's Aravali or otherwise, it will help. As it is, stay ho gaya, na jate to stay nahi hota. इस वक्त हमको, मेरा ख्याल है, we should focus. Electoral reforms will not come at the moment. What is urgent, what is right before us, and which will be a direction to the government of India, and it also goes to all the states. Supreme Court means everybody's covered. I think at the moment I would put my faith here, at the moment, immediately. Of course, other things should follow. We need all these kinds of reforms, no doubt about it. But at the moment, let's focus our energy on it, which list it's not a low hanging fruit. It's straight away directing. It's direct message. उसमें हम वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग भी डाल सकते हैं, फील्ड वर्क भी डाल सकते हैं, कंट्रोल रूम्स भी डाल सकते हैं, एंगेजमेंट. नाउ how does a elected person stay engaged with the people? वो कुछ है ही नहीं है. Earlier town halls were always held, sabhas were held. Now there's nothing like this is happening. Now it's only media debates. So you and I are only fighting on media debates, and we are doing these in-houses messages, these zooms. But if you want this quickly, I think it's now very important, क्योंकि बार बार नहीं आ सकता और साल में वेट नहीं कर सकते. जो चाहते हो एक्सपर्ट्स को फॉलो करो, ट्रैक द एक्सपर्ट्स, give them all the wherewithal and the evidence so that they produce the evidence before the courts.
Right. Priyanka, we have one such expert on our panel. You mentioned that you're also on the group that's advising the Supreme Court. What have been your recommendations and based on the evidence that CEEW has collected?
No, let me just correct. I'm not the one who's advising Supreme Court, but we have been, kind of putting out our research, which has been taken to. Apparently, our CEO is part of CAQM, Commission on Air Quality Management in Delhi and NCR areas. So basically, it's our way of reaching out. So what we do is we put out our research, which is taken by these experts to the Supreme Court. So our research findings are actually going. So some of the research findings that I was talking about, like this transport, right? Transport and on-crop residue burning. One of the things that we also indicated was and not just us, but NASA also indicated that the numbers that we are getting are not the real numbers for crop residue burning. So these are the kind of research, like say, for example, the early warning system, the systems which are in place, there should be someone who is evaluating those systems. Like say, for example, if there is a system that needs to run throughout the year, why is it only running for 4 months a year? Right?
Yeah.
So this is the kind of research which is actually helping the government, that these are the insights which are needed, that what is it that you are doing is right, what is it that you are doing might or might not be right. So yeah, this is the kind of support that experts can provide, because they are working in, maybe I'm working in just waste management. So my focus is on waste management, right? So I can just give those insights directly to someone who is dealing with Supreme Court. So that's what we are doing. Yeah. So what's your question? Sorry. Yeah.
What are some of the recommendations that you would make based on your findings?
Yeah. So like I also mentioned, there needs to be reforms, but reforms which can be, so there you divide your reforms, like ma'am said, there should be something short term which can give you some results, because when something is giving result, it is also giving you motivation to do better. So take up something else, right? That's what happened in China as well, right? It cannot be something which is not, sitting right with. And then one situation that comes to my mind is COVID situation. Like, how is it that you make air pollution issue, uh, uh, so relatable to anyone? Like during COVID times, everybody knew that if they are not, following the directions which have been set up by government, they'll die, right? That is the situation now as well. Air pollution is as bad as COVID time, but it happens in long term, and that's why people are not realizing. Those who are facing challenges are moving away. There are research which are talking about the migration of people due to air pollution. Right? There have been instances where children are dealing with air pollution issues, and people are migrating from Delhi to areas which they think are less polluting. Right? So I have had colleagues, those who can afford, but not everyone can afford. There are people who are coming to Delhi, migrant labor, right? The floating population of Delhi is also a large proportion. What do we do? I mean, and air pollution affects everyone, equally. It's not that you and I are saved just because we are sitting in air purifier, I mean, in a room with air purifier for some time. You have to go out. So it's everybody's issue, and it needs to be solved that way. But happens in short term and long term. There are some short term feasible, solution, there are some long-term changes that need to happen. So the recommendations would be, first, prioritize the issues which are, more prominent, like transport can be solved. So why is it that we can't, make our public transport lucrative? Why is it that we cannot come out with, policies which are deterrent to, using public or private transport? Why does everybody need a car? For a single person, why is a car needed if a bus can carry 72 people? So these are the things which need to be, implemented properly, and these are the recommendations. There is nothing new that I'm saying here. It has been said by many experts, but all it needs is, right kind of support and right kind of enforcement from government.
Right. This next question is directed to
Can I
Mr.
just
Patil.
add in a little
Yes.
here?
Yes, ma'am.
If we can see, if we have a good contact with any media, any one channel, YouTube channels are full. Can they put aside few seconds for cause of environment? And they can handle it differently. If they can keep this memory alive of what we've gone through. We cannot, because we are all very limited in our reach. We have to keep the issue alive. Whether it's water harvesting, whether it's water quality, these civic issues. Civic issues, if we can have media on our side and the courts getting the decision, we have won 70% of the battle. Other things will start. Then the third is political manifesto. अब जो इलेक्शंस आने वाली हैं, क्या इनके पॉलिटिकल मैनिफेस्टो में is pollution issue, is water an issue, is civic agencies a issue? Can the electorate be alerted कि देखो इनका पॉलिटिकल मैनिफेस्टो में ये बात कर रहे हैं, धुएं की बात कर रहे हैं, गंदगी की बात कर रहे हैं, पानी की बात कर रहे हैं, करो बात. तो अगर ये सिटीजन मूवमेंट्स आ जाए और मीडिया भी पूछने लगे, बड़ा फर्क पड़ेगा. आप और मैं, अदरवाइज हम लोग छोटे पॉन्ड्स में फाइट करते रहेंगे. इफ यू वांट टू हिट द ओशन, देन मीडिया, कोर्ट्स एंड दीज पॉलिटिकल मैनिफेस्टोस are the way forward.
Ma'am, actually, I have a question in continuation of your recommendation. You clearly specified that Supreme Court is the best resort right now that we have as youth. So I want to talk specifically about the agricultural subsidy route to address the air pollution problem. Any kind of reform in this space, by virtue of its sensitivity, is met with extreme retaliation from the farmer groups, as seen in the case of farm laws, which were repealed by the Supreme Court even. So any kind of progress is still nullified, even after that. So what can we do in such a scenario?
It's irreversible. Truly, it is irreversible. You can only add to the subsidy. You cannot dictate any subsidy decline. अब कम नहीं कर सकते, बढ़ा सकते हैं. Anything given already, no political can bring it back. कोई नहीं कर सकता. You will lose those votes. After all, you have to come to power to sort out issues. How will you come to power if the people don't vote for you? And why will they vote for you if you're cutting down what has already been given to them? वो नहीं हो सकता. Like reservation. Can you reverse the reservation? You can only increase it. And therefore, the struggle is to maintain it as it is. That's why the struggle, 50% cut off. No, more of it. Courts have also become very conscious. 50% se nikala. Only Tamil Nadu succeeded in taking it to 60%. But you cannot reverse certain things. This will not be reversible. Only thing, my friend Gaurav, is increase the water table by citizen movement, where everybody is a beneficiary, including the rice grower. उसको भी पानी मिलेगा. अगर वो जिसको पानी नहीं मिलेगा, उसका चावल नहीं होगा, उसको लगाना पड़ेगा बाजरा. So the only thing is, ये नहीं हो सकते, सब्सिडीज नहीं कम होने वाली. सिर्फ कह दो पानी नहीं आएगा तो तुम्हें ये सब्सिडी भी नहीं मिलने वाली, क्योंकि तुम उगाओगे ही नहीं. So I think the answer is water harvesting. If they can put aside, see that slope of the table, and keep doing what, and not waste water. Because they let overflow, bijli bhi free hai, planning free, then they let the overflow and the water go away. So I think water harvesting and this, don't you are hitting against the wall when you say subsidy कम हो जाएगी. जैसे women को जो दिया गया, मान लीजिए अभी बिहार में दिया गया, you think it can ever be taken away? Never. Everybody will be coming to power saying हम वो करेंगे और भी देंगे. वो नहीं जाने वाला. These are all realities of life. So the only way is keep the issues alive so that the politicians remain alert and sensitive कि pollution है, water है, ये. तो अगर ये कर ले media houses को संभाले, and similarly they could also talk about water harvesting for the agriculture. So how will you become the big earn all this without water? And then solar. Solar is another movement. So save power, and they could have solar pumps. So solar is another save power. See, so therefore this is a much. These are, let's look at alternatives which are manageable, and that can be ensured that there's a solar movement where these farmers have solar pumps over there, rather than at least we save power. So whatever we can save at the moment, save, but you cannot cut whatever you've given already. It's politically harakari, what do you call harakari? Get it? So media, if we have our contacts and relatives networking, let's find media to say, "Arey ye karo, 1 minute to de do apne channel mein." In the end, say, "Don't forget, breathing air is very good, or water." So here's the little man. So they could do two things: a good practice, a bad practice. So they encourage and they highlight who did a great job. So we highlight great job and we highlight what is a bad job. If we can do these through three things, it will at least help us.
Mr. Bahale wanted to jump in since it's his area of expertise. Sir, is it possible to realistically have a farmer-aligned transition? What is your perspective?
No, actually, I disagree with Kiranji. She's suggesting all bureaucratic ways of this thing. I don't know. We
Media,
have experienced. We
media
have
is
experienced.
bureaucracy.
Yes, ma'am.
Media is not bureaucracy. Coach is not bureaucracy.
Court is a bureaucracy.
Oh,
Court is a bureaucracy.
well, it has system,
Those who are not worried about,
but we have nothing else
those
left.
who are not worried about their earnings and they get the salaries in place, in that case, all the politicians are supposed to do the things and they are not doing. That's the problem. And no, I was,
Excuse me.
I, the, the shortcuts are not there for your this thing. You don't have any shortcut. You need to have policy change. I mean, philosophical change in policy. That is more important, I think. And very simple. You must be knowing we had a policy change in 91. All were socialist. Chandrasekhar was socialist when he was PM. He was socialist. Narasimha Rao, he was more socialist. But even then, they had to open. Why? Because it was inevitability. So, unless inevitability comes, this is not going to change. I agree with that. Now, urgently, what should be done, what should not be done. And one thing, I'm not worried about the water tables and all that. We'll be getting more water by way of rains because of global warming. So that can be handled. And of course, the earth has got 75% of its volume of water there. So we are not supposed to worry about water and all that. We are supposed to worry the stagnation came in. I think we need a creative destruction very soon. And I think it will be happening. Our judiciary won't be working. because most of the judiciary, I don't know, everyone has his own way of thinking and their alignment with philosophy. And most of the people who are educated are left leaning because they are given education like that. Our all universities or everybody, we have got only one syllabus, so we will be having only one merit. We don't have multiple syllabus, and the universities are preparing syllabus. Why the universities are preparing syllabus? They should not. They should only accredit the things. That if one comes and says, I know this much thing, what degree is you are going to award me? So many things are there, but at this point of time, if we are worried about pollution of Delhi, which is harming, really harming, it is difficult to live in Delhi now, at least in winter, and only this policy shift, because of inevitability, we will shift and they will get the same skill, skill of production. 58% of the people in India, they are, yeah, it's finished. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not,
Uh,
so
Signal
but
for
we are
time up.
running out of
last,
time. Yeah.
yeah, last sentence I'm going to finish it.
Uh,
You are supposed to work for harvesting demographic dividend. Nothing else will help you. The answer lies in harvesting demographic dividend. Otherwise, after 2055, we will be, now we are a young country, will be growing older. And if we do not हम अगर हमारे वेल्थ क्रिएशन के लिए जितने भी साधन हैं हमारे पास, अगर उनको सक्षम नहीं बनाते, तो हमारा बुढ़ापा खराब जाने वाला है. पोल्यूशन वगैरह, ये सारे प्रॉब्लम्स जितने भी है, उनके लिए एक सॉल्यूशन है. जितने भी है, ऐसा नहीं है कि दिल्ली पोल्यूशन का सॉल्यूशन अलग है, डायबिटीज हब के लिए सॉल्यूशन अलग है. हमको हर सॉल्यूशन का अगर एक वो निकलना है, तो दैट इज फ्रीडम ऑफ freedom for technology and freedom for market. Firstly, to the farmers, because they are 58%. As industry came out, Narasimha Rao was a socialist, all were socialists. Even Atal Bihari was a collective, he believed in collectivism, that integrated humanism and all that. That is also collectivism. So, unless and until they come out of that because of inevitability, and we have got only one thing, that we should take the flag of libertarianism or liberty, what they call now these days. Leftists also call themselves liberal. I don't know why they call themselves liberal.
So
Anyway,
Lalitji, so the conclusion
anyway,
is,
yeah.
let it become inevitable, and then some solution, some consensus would arise, right? And
Yeah.
ultimate solution is give freedom. Do not just artificially interrupt the market or practices or
Yeah.
agriculture or anything, whether in terms of policy or technology, right? I
Yeah.
think Ishita.
yes. So I think freedom is something, liberty is something that CCS can totally get behind.
Yeah.
We champion those principles. So we are out of time. Let's wrap up today's webinar. I will just highlight the key sort of things that were highlighted in the webinar today. One, pollution is a pervasive problem, and but we have to blame its invisible nature, that it doesn't receive the attention that it should. It also requires a more synergistic and holistic approach to addressing. not just the political leadership, but also the citizenry, technology, people, youth, everyone has to come on board to address this challenge. And we need a change in the policy infrastructure uh, at a philosophical level, as Mr. Bahale said, which would require this unicorn policy that Priyanka described, which has to meet these seven unbelievable parameters. But hopefully, uh, as an economist, I know that there's trade-offs to everything. So some might have to be made, but we can hopefully come up with a solution. So at that, I would wrap up today's seminar. On behalf of CCS, I would like to thank Mr. Lalit, Ms. Priyanka, and Gaurav Gupta. Also, I'd like to thank Amit for taking part in this webinar. We would personally thank Kiran ji, who is not in the webinar anymore, but we really appreciated her participation and everything that she had to contribute to this discussion. On that note, I would like to thank for everyone who has joined us today for engaging with us. And if you want to keep this conversation going, please follow CCS's YouTube channel. This webinar will be uploaded there. And the full working paper on which this webinar was based is also on CCS's website. With that, we come to the end. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.